Welcome to the Fri Power Lunch, a weekly show amplifying the voices of the Virginia grassroots. Each week, we provide engaging conversations about politics, culture, and women making change. Produced by the unstoppable women of Network Nova, our motto is, when we vote, we win. The Fri Power Lunch is recorded before a live Zoom audience. Follow us on social media. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and show us some love and become a sponsor through Patreon. The Fri Power Lunch. Badass women getting things done.
I'm Katherine White, your host, unmuted, bringing you the guests, the issues, the action, amplifying the voice of the grassroots to get things done, and yes, to make politics fun. And our theme today is to pink the vote. 25 days and 25 ways to get the vote out. So excited. We have a special opening video with our friend CJ Krim turned us on to. It's just released because we're on fire for choice by Lynn Revo Cohen of I Will Productions. And I am fired up, Robbin. Let's play it.
Hey, you gotta listen, because I've got something to say. We've had enough of your hate and your disrespect, and we're gonna send you away. Hey, 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 sister, look what they've done. We're on fire and we're ready to run. We've got the passion, we've got the heat, we've got the power beneath our feet. My choice every time. Can't steal our freedom, can't steal our hope. So watch us now. We're gonna vote. Hear our voice. Ooh, we'll fight for choice. Ooh, hear our voice. Ooh, we'll fight. Hey, hey, hey. Look at Roe v. Wade. How dare you take it away? Keep abortion safe or we'll send you away. We're gonna vote. Hear what we say. Ooh, hear our voice. Ooh, we'll fight for choice. Ooh, hear what we say.
Sister, see what they've done. We're your brothers and we're ready to run. Sisters, mothers, and daughters too. We got the power. We stand with you.
Look at me, look at us. Why do you hate? We're gonna vote in every state. We are smart, we are strong, and we know our fate. So shame on you, we'll keep this country great. Say it loud, ooh, we'll say it proud. Ooh, hear our voice, we'll fight for choice. Hey, 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 sister, look what they've done. We're on fire and we're ready to run. We've got the passion, we've got the heat, we've got the power beneath our feet. Hey sister, look what they've done. We're on fire and we're ready to run. We've got the passion, we've got the heat.
So watch us now.
We've just begun.
So watch us now. We've just begun.
Oh, I like that. Vote with passion. Hell yes, we're on fire for choice. We've had enough of all the hate and disrespect, the cruelty. And after this overturning of Roe, as we keep pushing to keep this in the headlight, now the attacks focusing on same-sex marriage and this big push, this really disgusting push to go after transgender students. But hey, we have to have the passion for sure. And I know we have the heat in this room. Every Friday we bring it. And you know what? They better hear our voice, because they should fear us. Once we go out and hit the streets to get out the vote, we are going to be making the big change that needs to happen for the midterms. And we have to keep the issue of choice in the headlights for sure. And we also have to be able to talk about why Democrats are the ones that can tackle the big issues, from inflation to climate change. Because guess what, people? Republicans don't have a plan. Hear that out there? Hear her voice. You don't have a plan except attacking people and making things just not so great. So I am so excited that what we're bringing for you today, we're bringing the heat with 25 ways to take action for the next 25 days till the election. And that will keep us busy every day, like a little calendar. Wake up, what to do today, kind of gives us a nice little point to how we can get things done. And I am very energized and excited to bring up our new friend of the show, Ashley All. She is the former communications director for Kansas for Constitutional Freedom, all the way from New York. How are you feeling today, my friend?
I'm great. I am pleased to be here with you. As you mentioned, I'm in New York, but I live full-time in Kansas, and I've been working there for a long time, fighting for the same things you are in Virginia.
Yeah, well, I know that you were talking to us about your continuing education, and you're in Columbia. And I know when I read the article about you, this learning graduate school had really benefited you in Kansas.
Yeah, it definitely made me do some things and helped me get some confidence doing, the forward-facing press, TV, and different things that I hadn't done before. I've always worked for candidates, and so you're always behind the scenes. So this has been a different experience for me.
Well, we're excited. And when I said Han Jones came in the room, she's Planned Parenthood advocates. And I know that Tarina's coming in the room. She's head of Repo Rising. So we have a lot of interested people that great to see you here. And then hopefully we will connect with them later as well. So thank you so much. And Robbin, let's get to DEEPAK. Is he here yet?
Yes, he is. He's guest number one. So Stair, can you make him a co-host so we can bring him up?
Let's bring up DEEPAK Puri, guest number one. Of course, he's guest number one. He's all the way from California. DEEPAK, great to see you.
Stair, can you mute him, please? I can't. Great.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. So DEEPAK, co-founder, CEO of Democracy Labs, and all the way from San Francisco. I just want to welcome you before we get to your section. How are things going in San Francisco?
We're super busy, but thank you so much for inviting us.
Yeah, did you get your special little present I left on your front porch?
I did. Thank you so much. It made my day.
Yeah, I was hoping maybe, I have the Friday Power Lunch mug. So when I was out in California, I went all the way to his house and dropped a little Power Lunch package on your porch. Beautiful city. So we're glad that you've taken the time to come and talk about Democracy Labs. So it's great to see you. Sorry we didn't get to see each other in person, but I was glad to deliver the swag. So
thank you.
Yeah, great. All righty. Well, it's that time of the show where I have to say some housekeeping things. Michelle McKinney, give a wave up there. She is our newcomer liaison. Have any issues or problem with anything or understanding how to work any of the tools in the chat, please message Michelle. She'll take care of you. Also, please use the chat to talk to one another. What a great place to be. Just keep it friendly, or Stair up there, it has the boot and she likes it. She has a tricky finger. It's fast, so she may boot you out. So keep it fun, keep it friendly. Tell us where you're from. Tell us what's happening, how you feel today, and just share away, because I know this crowd is just on top of things in Virginia. And our favorite part to talk about is the after chat at 1 p.m. where we like to unmute and share what's going on across Virginia. So please stick around for that. And of course, we have to also talk about us. And if you are a patron, thank you very much. And if you want to be one, please consider it. For just a small monthly fee, you can help our show, keep the Zoom on, keep everything going, and it really supports our work. So thank you to everybody that supports us. And now, the show wouldn't be the same if we didn't bring up and have this section, the Power Chat, with Fennell, our show messenger. Hello, friend.
Hello there.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
I know there's so much to talk about, and I want to first start out with this concept we're trying to spread is the get out the vote, is the pink the vote. And we have come up with social media graphics, some language around it, some messaging, some different ways that you can get out the vote. And I have to show everybody, I ordered my car magnet.
Oh,
look at that. It came.
That looks fantastic.
So I can take my homemade one out, but you can use a homemade one in your car. So we're encouraging everybody to participate. And if you don't have time, if you want to go and order stuff, great. My signs came today too. We really feel like we want to keep this in people's minds. So that's my big talk today. And I want to, not leave behind some of the things that's been going on with Ohio. If everybody saw, there was a win for the transgender right resolution they were trying to pass. And tomorrow in Richmond, they're actually going to have a rally because we're bringing that fight here against our own governor who wants to mess with students in school and transgender students. And there is a comment period going on right now. So I don't know if you have any input on that or what your feelings are.
Yeah, so I already went in to take a look at it to see what comments are happening. And there are lots of comments there, lots of parents, lots of different views and opinions. But quite frankly, there's a lot of support for transgender children too, for their families. So I was pretty excited to see that.
Yeah, I agree. And so I just want to make sure that, we see we have Ashley all here who talked about how she's going to tell us about how they, how they were able to really persuade voters, talk to voters to really move Kansas in a direction to protect women's rights. And I feel like that the overstep again on really going after kids is going to be harmful to them, but also politically, we need to hold the governor here in Virginia accountable. So I tell everybody, please go in that comment section. It's so important. And lastly, I want to bring up the really important voter suppression thing that came across where again, with the governor who's took over elections, and then 107,000 new voter registration votes went missing. Everybody in this room, please contact the governor's office in Virginia, because these 107,000 voters, new voters, maybe young voters, Gen Z is pissed off about this. They want to contact the voters. And so let's make sure that we do not let the governor off the hook.
Yeah, that is a really, really big one, because we know these elections are won on the margins. And so
Yes.
That could just swing stuff everywhere. And especially with the work that's being done about women registering to vote, that's significant. So we just can't let that go.
Well, the thing that's crazy about it, Tom Bonnier from Target Smart, they were pointing out, wow, it's weird. Looking at Kansas, the registration went up. Looking at Michigan, registration went up. And everybody, I was kind of mad. I'm like, in Virginia, I'm like, why isn't our voting going up? So all these months, these voters have been sitting there not contacted. And to me, this is something that, that we need those 20 lawyers that Youngkin's hired to go investigate his office.
Yeah, and I think the last point that I'd make about this, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, how many young voters came of age this year, and it's like 8 million.
Right.
And I've been looking in the voter files for those voters, and now I know why I haven't been able to find them, because they're not there, the ones that registered this year.
Yeah, that's, what I call fishy. So let's talk about also, I want you to talk about January 6th real quick. We're already getting to 12:15, but the game that play today, some of our activity, we need to remind people to download their bingo card.
Yeah, they need to download the bingo card, because we're going to do that, and it's going to be really fun. But can I just talk a minute about a couple of things that really, really, really have me ticked off this week. And so we'll save January 6th only to say that I think that this was the best hearing yet. I think that this was, I thought this was the best one yet in terms of really putting it out there in a straightforward way in people's own voices to understand that this was a setup from the beginning. And if you can't figure this one out, then you just don't care about democracy at all. That's what I want to say about that. But the other thing that I'm really ticked off about, which sort of I should be happy that it sort of got swept away because of the hearings, and that was the inflation report came out a few days ago. And of course, inflation went up. I think it was 0.4, something like that. And the TV news people just went wild. And, oh, this is just going to be terrible for Democrats and blah, 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 blah. And then all the people who say, ooh, I'm going to vote Republican because they're better on the economy. And I just wanted to say, everybody, just sit back for a minute, because here's the news. The only reason that people think that Republicans are better on the economy and inflation is because they say they are. There isn't a single fact that actually proves that they are better on the economy or inflation. And if you look at all of the things that have been passed this year around taxes, about prescription drugs, all of those things that matter, healthcare, gas prices, what we can't control, they didn't support not a single piece. So they only say they're better, but they're not better. So don't let anybody tell you that. If they tell you that, you tell them that that is not true, that we are better because we say so and we got the facts to prove it.
We're better. Well, I think it's true. It's like, you have to really do talk up yourself. So I totally agree. Well, I'm sure everybody, and just put in the chat if you watched yesterday's hearings and maybe what you thought about it. I mean, I was the little, and we'll just wrap this up, but wondering how subpoenaing Trump may motivate or sort of always, you want to not throw the energy a little bit to the other side. And the energy has to stay on our side with what's at risk, what's at stake, and not to remind people if they do take power, what's going to happen to our democracy and what's going to happen to women and what these bans will mean. And they're going to do it. They've told us they're going to put women, they already are putting women in jail. And Texas has not, if you read this about Texas, won't release their mortality rates on pregnancy in women before the election. They're supposed to, by law, be telling people, and for the health department, they're not releasing those numbers.
Yeah.
Why, right?
Yes, that's right. And so, Katherine, and I'll just say one more thing about that in the hearings, and because they really were pretty spectacular. People keep saying, oh, it's unprecedented. It's unprecedented. And I really am sick of that word, because when you break the law,
right,
you break the law. And so I don't care if it's never been done before. The presidents have been subpoenaed before. Clinton was subpoenaed, Nixon was subpoenaed, Jefferson was subpoenaed. They all testified or did whatever they're supposed to do. And this shouldn't be any different. It isn't unprecedented. You've broken the law. We can see it. Come speak about it. Yep. Or just do something. But the other thing is and this is for Robbin, at some point, I hope we have time to show the video about how it's important, not just for women to talk about these issues around reproductive health, but for men to talk about it too.
Well, we're going to get to that, and probably we'll in the next.
You want me to show that commercial really quickly?
I think we can wait. Why don't we just wait till when we talk about messaging with Ashley? I think that would be a perfect time to talk about it. All right. So for now, see you back in Pink the Vote, and everybody get your bingo card ready so we can play, and we'll have some winners. I can't wait for that. So thank you. All right. I know a lot of people in the room are very excited to welcome Ashley All, the former communications director for Kansas for Constitutional Freedom. We are so glad that you accepted our invitation. And as you see, there's a lot of interest in the room about, learning about how you did this in Kansas, because a lot of people in this room are organizers, activists. There are people that think about these strategies. So thank you for being here. So let's just talk about, just give us the background of this. Sure. So people understand how this got on the ballot, that process. Let's start there first. And then I'd like to talk more about you and your background and how you got into this.
Sure. So first, thank you for inviting me to join you. It has been a really interesting experience over the last several months, but being able to speak with groups across the country like yours has been like the icing on the cake for our victory, quite frankly. We're 25 days out from the election, so I'm sure all of you are very, very busy, and I'm glad that you were able to take time today to join the Power Lunch. Really quickly, an intro into how I kind of ended up here talking to you in Virginia today. I worked for Kansas Democrats in Kansas for 18 years. So basically, I have been, if you know anything about Kansas, it's perceived as a little bit more conservative. So basically, I've been stressed out for probably 2 decades of my life, working hard to elect attorney generals and governors in a state that leans kind of the other way, away from the team that I was fighting for. This year, I served as the spokesperson for Kansans for Constitutional Freedom, which was the campaign that worked to protect the reproductive rights in Kansas. We won in a landslide. It was somewhat unexpected, the margin, but also really gratifying for so many of us who worked on the race. Just to kind of get you, up to speed on why we were even voting on this, because in Kansas we don't have a referendum or petition referendum law. We don't vote on things unless it is a constitutional amendment. And so what happened was about in 2019, there was a Kansas Supreme Court ruling that found that Kansans had, there was a challenge to an abortion bill, statute. And it was like a long, very long process, but finally the Kansas Supreme Court found that Kansans had a right to personal autonomy in the State Bill of Rights. That right meant that you could make decisions about your life, healthcare, family, future. And it also meant that women had the right to make their own decisions, their own medical decisions about pregnancy and abortion. And as you can imagine, that really made anti-choice lawmakers and activists very, very mad. And so in response to that, they pushed through a constitutional amendment. It took them 2 tries to get it through, because they had 2/3 majority in both houses. To put it on the ballot. 2 tries, but they were able to pass it through and put it onto the August 2022 primary election ballot, which was just a couple months ago. That is why, we ended up in this historic position as the first state in the nation to vote on reproductive rights after the fall of Roe. Shortly after the amendment was put on the ballot, there was a big effort by some coalition or some partners who are, the key pro-choice organizations in our state, Planned Parenthood Great Plains, ACLU Kansas, Trust Women, United for Reproductive and Gender Equity, and then a local state organization called Kansas Values Institute. And they came together to create Kansans for Constitutional Freedom, which was the coalition that really led the campaign this year. And so, we started there, and we spent the last year really trying to figure out and understand who our voters were and how to communicate with them. So I don't know if you wanted to ask.
It's really interesting because, as you know, Virginia is similar. So that's why a lot of people are in the room. They're starting this process now. Mm-hmm. So did you head up that coalition, or when you started to build that, was a small team of you bringing this people together? I know we're doing that right now, for instance. Is that you started coalition?
Right. So the coalition started with those 5 organizations, and that was the executive committee, which was kind of the voting members. And we really started there. And then I joined about a year ago. So they were created in June of 2021. I joined a little bit after that. But over the past year, we really focused on building out that coalition even more. So it always stayed, those 5 core organizations were kind of the governing body, but we brought in, we had a lot of support from some of the national organizations, but we also had a lot of support from, probably close to almost 50 local organizations that got involved through our steering committee and helped us organize all across the state. And that was, I think, key to our success.
Well, also, when I was listening to one of your podcasts that you were on, you talked about being intentional about the nonpartisan piece of this because of Kansas, and maybe we can get into that piece because I think it goes into how you are crafting your messaging and understanding your voting audience and understanding Kansas, because Kansas background, as you said, this was a state that was rejected slavery. And so it already has a history of sort of kind of an independent lean, and your independent voters make up a lot of unidentified. So get into that a little bit. I find that's interesting because you obviously are part of the media team, the communication team, and you started with a lot of research. So get into that part of it. I found that to be interesting.
Yeah. So Kansas is a lot more complicated politically, I think, than most people let on. As you mentioned, we came into the union. There were bloody battles to make sure that Kansas came into the union as a free state. So we have some kind of progressive and more history, more progressive history. And if you didn't know, we currently have a Democrat governor, Laura Kelly. And what's also interesting is that we've had three women serve as Democratic governor of Kansas in the last couple of decades. So we are able to kind of split the ticket. Voters are willing to do that. But so our first goal was really to understand our voters. And that took a lot of research. We spent the best part of last year doing focus groups and different surveys and having a lot of one-on-one conversations with voters to understand how they really felt and thought about this issue. Because as all of us know, it is one of the most complicated issues and most personal issues for folks to talk about. And the first thing we found was that voters didn't actually see abortion as a partisan issue, which to me, as somebody who has worked in politics my entire adult life, was a little bit shocking. But truly, they did not see it as partisan. They saw it as personal. It was, deeply personal and private for people. And so that also makes it a little bit more complicated to have conversations about it with folks. But we knew that we needed to make room for people to have their own personal views on abortion, because even pro-choice individuals, that means different things to different people.
Right.
And so we needed to make sure that they had the space to have their own personal views on abortion while still sharing the fundamental belief that women should have the constitutional right to make those decisions for themselves without interference from the government or politics. And that really was, our shared value that we rallied around and that we communicated around for the entire, probably the 3 months leading up to the election. So we did a lot of research. And then for the last 3 months, we were kind of doing the paid and volunteer communication for canvassing and television and all the things you do on a campaign. But that message really resonated with voters across the political spectrum, whether they were Democrats, Republicans, or any, independents or anything in between. They were motivated by that. And so, in Kansas, to win a statewide election, you have to get voters who are Republican or independent.
And so gerrymandered, correct? I mean, the gerrymandering is a big issue in a lot of states, that have this issue, right?
Yeah, gerrymandering is an issue for is a big issue for getting things through the legislature.
Right.
But quite frankly, we are, Republicans make up 44% of the registered voters in Kansas. Democrats make up 26%, and actually unaffiliated voters make up 29%. So wow. Democrats, are outnumbered, are like the third largest component in the electorate. So we have to, and that's always been, core to the communication efforts that I've worked on, whether it be for helping elect Governor Kelly or whether it was, getting this amendment, blocking this amendment. You really had to also connect with moderate Republicans and independent voters.
Right. And so in that strategy, I'd love to get to, because what we love on this show is messaging and trying to understand it, and there's always Democrats and messaging. But you, like you said, you hit it on the head with the personal autonomy, really going to those values of personal freedom and being able to make your decision making. Tell us a little bit about that strategy or some stuff you found out when you wanted to form these communications and the messaging around that we felt was effective.
Yeah, we really found that, even if people had, personal views that they believe that there should be restrictions or whatever that personal belief may be, the one thing that really resonated was, people ought to be able to make those decisions for themselves. They're private decisions. They're deeply personal, and they're complicated, and they don't want political or government interference. And so a lot of our communication, I think that the ad that got, it was our first ad, and it was, probably the one that got the most national attention, because it was much different than, I think, typical, advertising in these kind of campaigns. And it talked about this being a mandate, and this would mandate government control over private medical decisions and ultimately pave the way to a total ban on abortion. And that was something that resonated a lot with more Republican voters, but it was also, and I point out to many people, this was also the top testing message for Democrats and progressive voters as well. So it wasn't like we were communicating with moderate Republicans or conservative Republicans at the expense of our base. This was the message that motivated folks the most. And if you think about it, it really makes sense. These are fundamental rights. It's an issue of equality. It's an issue of freedom, personal liberty, and that is something that's core to progressive and Democratic voters as well. Yeah. And so we spent a lot of time talking about that. We also made, it's really important that you use messengers, trusted messengers in your communication. And that is another layer that is often, I think, overlooked. But for us, it was really critical that we use a diverse array of messengers when talking to these voters, because some people are influenced by doctors, some people are influenced by friends or family. And so we really wanted people to see themselves or their loved ones in all of these stories that we put on television. So we had a doctor, we had a patient, we had a grandmother talking about it. We had a Presbyterian minister who was talking about it. So we had all of these different messengers, just so that people could see themselves in these issues. And that also goes to organizing, the importance of having trusted messengers in communities and talking to different groups of people who are trusted in those communities. Not everybody can go into a rural community in Western Kansas and have the kind of conversation that needs to be had about abortion. But some people can, and we had a lot of really great partner organizations that were able to do that.
And is that, just skipping ahead real quick, is that how you got a lot of I'm assuming when you saw the get out the vote you did, and eventually get feet on the ground door to door, was it through all those coalition people that signed up to be these volunteers? And I'm assuming there was a big outreach program for that. Maybe training people went through, ways to tell stories and all that. But I noticed it seemed like you did a fantastic job, field organizing job doing that. If you could just talk real briefly about what it was like.
Yeah, one of the great thing about our organization was the coalition that we built. And because we brought so many different organizations and groups and even just individual voters into kind of the steering committee and into the organizing component, organizing component of the campaign, we were able to do a lot more work organizing in communities and canvassing and phone banking than we would have been able to do just as Kansans for Constitutional Freedom. Now, Kansans for Constitutional Freedom did have a field director, and they had 5 field organizers that ran the canvases in the biggest 5 counties. So in the Kansas City metro area, there were 2 counties, in Wichita, which is our other big urban area, and then a couple others. And so they ran the canvases in those communities. But what they also did was the field team worked with all of those different partner organizations in smaller communities where we weren't able to have our own field organizer. They worked with those local organizations to provide infrastructure, to provide message, to provide, the literature and the walking lists and all of that, so that they didn't have to. And so we were very coordinated in making sure that we were providing with the targeted lists based on what we understood about our electorate, to the folks that were in those communities, whether it was, in Western Kansas, or one of my favorite stories was about a woman who called our campaign like literally days after the decision to overturn Roe at the end of June. She called from this tiny town in Pittsburgh, Kansas, and wanted to learn how to she wanted to learn how to canvass. She'd never done it. And she was like, I want to learn. This is really important to me. So our field director took her through the process, taught her how to do it, showed her how to use the voter file and everything that we were using. And she and a couple of her friends went out and knocked 1,600 doors during the month of July. And we won the county that she lived in because of that, I think.
That's a great story to end on, because that is how we roll. And I think that's obviously how you went on an issue that's so important like this, and how I'm hoping we could build something like that in Virginia. So I'm grateful that in the room, like I said, we have Tarina here, who's the head of Repro Rising, and Han Jones from Planned Parenthood. I know they're listening intently, and they're very excited to learn some of this background and also be connected to the new group you're working with on that. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. So and I just want to really quickly, I just want to give one tiny little factoid about what was so important in Kansas. And you mentioned this a little bit ago. The registration increase that we had, there was a significant, 1,000% increase in registered voters right before our deadline. A lot of it was young women. And those young women turned out. We got the voter file a couple weeks ago, and we've been crunching numbers, and the turnout in Kansas was historic, but it was 55% women.
Wow.
Versus 44% men turned out. So that is historic levels, and the young women who turned out was higher than we'd ever seen. And that is the result. And it resulted in our 19-point victory. So it really does matter to the work that everyone is doing in their communities to engage new people and bring some of those young women into the.
All righty. So thank you, Ashley. And I want to make sure, because we want to get to Pink the Vote. I hope everybody is excited to talk about that. And then we'll get to DEEPAK. So stay with us. Thank you. All right, Fennell, bring your group up.
All right, thanks. Hi, guys. So I'm so glad we get to do this segment. But just as we end out on the piece with Ashley, what I think is really critical is sometimes people just don't understand how the law applies as it relates to abortion. So that can be tricky too. But you know what? Sometimes you get a little bit down and out, and you're just really frustrated, and you're thinking, what can I do? How can I make a difference? And that's what I love about these 25 ways to take action. So we've got 25 days until the election. And now we're going to talk about easy things. They're not technical. It's just little things that you can do to get out the vote. So Mary, let's start with you, and let's talk about messaging. There are about 8 things here. Let's talk about them. What can someone do?
I think one of the easiest things to do is to throw a button on your jacket, wear a t-shirt for your candidate. But if you don't want to be that bold, I have a small necklace that I bought. It's the one Michelle Obama was wearing at the Democratic convention, let's say 2 years ago. And it just says vote. Very simple, because people will ask you questions once you do that. I think that's the super easy thing to do.
Very good. There's other stuff on here too. So let's talk about a couple other ones that I really love. Posting a picture of yourself, easy peasy, right? Mary, you also have a TikTok video on here. Maybe you'll want to tell us about the first TikTok you ever did.
Oh my goodness. The first one I did was horrible, but you know what? It didn't stop me. You're the one that told me I needed to be on TikTok, and you were absolutely right. I find the easiest thing for me to do on TikTok is to tell a personal story that relates to a policy that's out there that connects to a real world experience. So I talk about Social Security and how my dad died when I was little and my mom relied on Social Security, and Republicans want to cut that. And this is why I'm voting for Democrats, why I'm voting. So I talk a lot about, and I talk about mistakes that I made. I think for my very first one is I said I voted for Reagan, and giving people permission to admit mistakes and that they were wrong. And when we know better, we do better.
That's right. Thank you, Mary. Heidi, let's talk a little bit about the stuff that you do.
Sure. I encourage a lot of people via social media to check their registration and to encourage their friends and family to check their voter registration, make sure it's updated, make sure that you can, if you requested a mail-in ballot, you make sure that you can track it. And if not, definitely go online, look for it. If you haven't, anybody that requested a mail-in ballot for Virginia should have gotten it already. If you haven't, definitely check online or call your local registrar's office. And check with friends and family as well. Like, my big push is not just you, but you are the extension to reach out to friends and family and encourage them to check too. Another thing is canvassing or texting, phone banking for our candidates. We have lots of options for that, especially with our 3 candidates here in Virginia that are very crucial to keeping the House. We have Jennifer Wexton, Abigail Spanberger, and Elaine Luria. That all could definitely use help if anybody is up for helping. There's canvassing, text banking, and phone banking can be done from home. I think it's a little late for postcarding at this point. We may or may not still be able to do some of that. But they will be on the Mobilize links. If there is, you can go to their Mobilize, their campaign Mobilize links and check there.
Perfect. So that pushes us right to Michelle, who is the canvassing and postcard queen. So let's talk a little bit about some additional things you can do, Michelle.
Well, I feel I know certain people better than anyone. I kind of know the issues they're passionate about. So I've made some postcards specific to that. Try to show you. Maybe you can see this one. Oh, I lost it. There you go.
There it is.
Okay. And then I have one for Ukraine. And then we had some people, they were very hesitant or they'd never put up a yard sign. So we got them to do it, but I know that it was hard for them. So I made cards and I mailed it to them and said, thank you for stepping up and doing it. So I like to surprise them. Or if I see a yard sign that's new, I like to just write, dear neighbor, thank you for putting out a yard sign. So I just like to do odd, fun things like that.
Okay, that is really awesome, Michelle. I think all of these things are really awesome. And so again, I stress that there are 25 things that we have that one can do. And you guys have really gone through beautifully to tell about these things and why you do them. And they're really easy, right? These are easy things. There's something on there that you can do.
Anyways, thank you, Fennell, and the team. That was really excellent. So yes, I am very excited again to bring up our next guest. DEEPAK Puri is the co-founder and CEO of the Democracy Labs, and he hopefully will just tell us all about the Democracy Labs. And are you enjoying being on the show?
I love it. I love it. I love your bingo card. I got to tune in more regularly to this.
Yeah, don't you think it's really inspiring? And we were thinking that we want to make a calendar with this on it. So we hope that what people will do, we're going to plan to do with this every day, is send that just one idea to do every day. Because then, you get out of bed, you're not sure what you're going to do. And maybe text 5 of your friends and just remind them about voting. Why not? I mean, we're going to talk about we can talk about some digital tools, some different things that Democracy Labs do. And we also have a tool right in our hands where you can just do it yourself. Just right now, everybody contact 10 of your friends and just say, this is why it's so important that you vote and blah, 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 So let's get to you, DEEPAK. Tell us about the group Democracy Labs, how it was founded, what y'all do.
So I live in San Francisco and I'm an immigrant. I came to the country about 30 years ago and I'm merrily chugging along, making my living in Silicon Valley. And then all of a sudden, Trump gets elected. And my wife and I end up at the Women's March in DC, and we get energized and we said, this is just wrong. And we have to do something. So I leave what I'm doing at Silicon Valley. I'm an engineer and I've been in tech for a while. And we decide that we're going to create a non-for-profit. And our mission is really simple. how can we help other progressive groups do a better job in getting out their message and using technology and storytelling for good. But the key thing is we try and find apps which are free, and we do what our work pro bono. And
Right.
so I've been doing this for 5 years now, and it's been a labor of love. Like, many of you might know Andrea Miller, who's in Virginia. She's been a friend and mentor for many years now. And a lot of the requests, people say, well, look, I have no money. I'm trying to do this. How do I do this? And what I try and do is I try and find the best tools which are out there and show people how to use them. And then we have a blog that I'll put in the chat window where we kind of freely share, this is what's going on. And so that's about, but let's do this. I hate talking about myself. Let me kind of show you some of the stuff we're doing. And I think that'll kind of.
I would love that, because I was looking at your blog and I saw that We Won't Black Down was something you were working on that was real interesting. Yeah, let's talk about what you're doing. Go right ahead.
All right. So what I'm going to do is, like, I think first thing that happens is, how do you get your message out? And I want to show you this little 30-second video, and then I'm going to show you how any of you could create it, something like this yourself.
Do me a favor and enlarge your screen. Press on the green button there so we'll see the whole thing up in the left-hand corner. Yeah. Well, wait.
All right, there.
Careful. Yeah.
Okay. So now I've got to, hang on.
Go back to the video. Sorry.
I got it. All right. Let me just play the video. I'll expand the video.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
It's only 20 seconds.
Sure.
Watch. So that's an example of how, I think we all have our stories to tell. And but as a grassroots group or as a volunteer, how do I do something like this for free in about a few minutes? Because once, so here's the tool. And I'm just going to take a minute.
This is Lumen 5. You found this, and this is something any one of us can use to make our own video.
Yep, it's
How
absolutely
cool is that.
And so let's just kind of take one, and let's just say Friday Power Lunch. So I'm going to create a new video, and you'll watch. This will take me a minute. So what I'm doing is I'm taking the default templates, and I go in here, and what's nice about this is they have a whole library of photos and videos which you can use for free. So let's just say I'm searching for protest. Okay. And so now I've got a whole bunch of videos. Let me just pick one for the sake of example. Well, here, I like this one. And it's pink. So let's just say, let's just call this Friday.
Friday Power Lunch, hashtag Pink the Vote. How's that? And I don't know if we can get that link to Lumen 5 in the chat for people to look at too, Robbin. You're listening. Go ahead.
Notice I changed the size of the font. It's pretty easy. And then I'm going to say, I can add a subscene. So you'll see what this does. And it's Power Lunch,
hashtag Pink the Vote.
Pink the Vote. All right. I could do a bunch of other stuff, but let's just.
We only have a couple minutes, so this is good.
So, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some music to this. So. Okay. So. All right. So I like that.
So you add that, and there you go. And then you could just publish this.
Yep. That's what I'm going to do now. So there's I'll make it a 6-second video, and it's published.
Publish away. Oh, nice.
So And so what you can do is not only can you take videos and photos from this library, which is all free, you can record your.
There we go. Nice. Very cool.
Okay, let me stop this beast.
Now that's okay. You can, if you want to, yeah, if you want to take down your screen or that would be helpful then.
All right. So then what we can do, so what we do, just as an example, here, let me save this and I'll attach it to, I'll send it out so you guys have it.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love this because, I mean, obviously with your background on this, you know, just all your degrees and background on this. And I love when you, the other day, when you were speaking of little things to make people more effective, even on the door. So if some people like in the room, you know, not interested, maybe don't do social media videos, but, you know, they're adding QR codes to door hangers, for instance, you know, and also you've done a lot of work around helping those, you know, sorry about how to map those activities for groups too, when they're doing stuff. Do you want to talk about some of a few other things that you've been working on?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll give you a couple of examples, which is, like, say, for instance, right now, if in North Carolina, there's a really important race going on. So what we do is I try and take issues from the news, and this is happening right now. So the idea is we put out this content and we kind of like, you know, this is all interactive, it's all free. And, you know, we connect back to the voters, their campaigns. So feel free to search through the website for stuff that's new and current and share it. The other thing which we do is, like, say, for instance, around some of the Republican talking points, which are just pure, you know,
right.
Like, say, for instance, and what I'll try and do is use stuff like cartoons and all to kind of make it interesting. And if you're talking to someone and say, well, like, you know, these guys really aren't that bad. So we try and break it out into ways that anyone can understand. Like, oh yeah, they're persecuting me because I attacked Congress. And if you click on this, there's more details. But the idea is, how do you take something like this? And then what you can do is you can share this content free of charge. So each one of us has our own network, whether it's on Facebook or Twitter or whatever. So what we try and do is take a message, simplify it, and, you know,
build the content around it.
Yeah. And so, for instance, here, like when it came to the railroad strike, like, well, we kind of said, okay, look, guys, the union workers deserve better. And let's kind of show you where the railroads kind of impact, because there's a whole bunch of issues, whether it's Medicare or drug prices, our actions to abortions. And people are always interested. Like, if I zoom into Virginia, say, and I want to know.
Oh, this is excellent. Yeah, we're in Wisconsin. Let's go to Virginia.
Yeah. So people can find out for themselves what's going on in their district, because a lot of folks have this thing like, hey, what happens in DC doesn't really affect me. But we say, no, look, we want to get you the content. And the idea is to make it interesting, kind of like what you have in this Friday Power Lunch.
Right.
It's got to be fun. It's got to be engaging.
What is that app about storytelling? Choose the right app for storytelling. What does that look like?
Yeah, let me go back. So what we do is, like I said before, we'll kind of use a lot of different tools. And
yeah, while you're finding that, I have a question. If a group like in this chat right now wants a specific issue help with, do you, if they call you up and say, you know, Deepak, I need help on this issue, will you do the work on a little of the research, do the graphics, help a little bit in that area? Or do you pick what you think is important by you?
Absolutely. Like, you know, I do this, it's my way of giving back.
Gotcha.
So if someone, so if someone needs help with a map or, you know, some story that they're trying to tell, so here what I did was I kind of explained these are different tools
right
used to tell your story. It's all free. So to go back to your question, Katherine, if someone needs help, definitely reach out to me. Often we will have done it before. If we haven't, I'm happy to help out. And some of the other things which we've done in the past, like for instance, here, there was a thing like a lot of people have never phone banked before. And what one of the organizers said was, said like, I have to spend 10 minutes training every new volunteer.
So you made a training.
So we have like, this is a 4-minute training.
So you guys all breeze through that Nevada list, which is
right. I hear you. Yeah. So yeah, that's good. I think we can bring down the sharing screen, Deepak. We're getting up about 102 right now.
Okay.
These are excellent. And I know my team and people in our team and people in this room are excited because there's so many apps, and like every year the party seems to get on a new app. It's the Rally app or this app. And we found, what is that app called? Blue Swipe that we're trying to investigate now. Are you familiar with, is it Blue Swipe?
Yeah.
Swipe Blue.
Swipe Blue.
Swipe Blue. See, the one thing there's a bunch of great apps out there. What I try and do is find the best tools
Love it.
Already in the business sector. So there's nothing to reinvent. And most of them are free. So I know we're tight for time. I'll turn it back to you, Katherine, but thanks for inviting us.
Yeah, well, I love the free, and I'm going to say we got our start the same way you did. And we also did everything we can find that didn't cost money. We used it our way too. I mean, some tools we use weren't meant to do the stuff we do. We're like, we're going to make it work for us. So I'm so appreciative of your work. Please reach out to Deepak. If you're in this room wanting to, help with things, I think this is perfect. And I love that you're really do all the work of looking at it, because a lot of these apps or some of this new technology really wastes our time and gets us frustrated and doesn't make us effective.
Nope. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Well, it's that time again, folks. The time to say it. We're going to go into the after chat, and also to say, I got to look at my card to see if I've missed anything. Some of the Pink the Vote issues we want to get out. I know we have some. If we want to show that real quick, some of the great stuff that you guys can use now, just like what we're kind of doing the same thing is trying to help the grassroots and the party with these Pink the Vote graphics. Robbin, if you want to show them. And you can buy them. You can buy them now. And I would say if you want to buy some of the yard signs, to do it today. Some of you've already purchased, but we also have social media graphics that you can use. We'll have the links in there, and these will all be sent out to you. We're doing the work so you don't have to, and then you can also make your own. But the point is 25 days, do 25 ways, your way or the highway, anyways, that you can get an active around this. And here's these lovely signs for your yard. I have 50 that if you want one, let me know. And if you're nearby, I will definitely get it to you. But yes, so you have the link to that. You can download them, put them on social media. Everyone in this room pinks the vote. It will really just energize people, because if you think about it, when you drive out to the end of your street and you saw all that red last year, I would rather see some pink and blue, friends. And that's what but it's going to be up to us to do it. So thank you very much for that. And I want to say thank you to our guest, Ashley All. So great that she was here, and Deepak all the way from San Francisco. Great to see you, friend. And I hope next time I'm out, I'll get to see you. And I want to make sure that if you like what you see and you enjoyed today, please consider being a patron. It really helps us do our work. And I want to call out the wonderful team: Show Wizard, Robbin, Warner, Ambassador of Buzz, Stair, Calhoun, Show Messenger, Fennell Norton, and Social Media Diva, Heidi Dragneff. And a special shout out to Denis Orsinger, who's did all these beautiful graphics for Pink the Vote, and our Zoom crew, Laura Martinez, and newcomer chat liaison, Michelle McKinney. And also a special hug and big kisses out to Julie Galdo, Alvina McCall, and Sally Reynolds, that do the dirty work and look at our print. So we sound good there. They read everything we write. So thank you for that. And I want to roll credits, and I hope you can stay in the after chat, because I see some wonderful delegates here. I saw a former delegate, Aird. I don't know if she's still in the room, but let's see you on the other side, and I'll see you next week. Do something today. All right, pink the vote.